I mean, shoot, I paid the $15. They should let me go indefinitely. Okay. All right, 7:40. Let's kick it off. If I see some more people, and while you're talking in the corner of my eye, I'll let them in as I can. But we got 32 on the call, which is pretty good. More will sprinkle in. So I want to thank everybody that's listening in now, and everybody that's going to catch the replay. You know, when I upload it onto our website, especially you guys on the East Coast and all our social media members. You know, it's awesome that you guys are spending the evening with me and Gary. Gary, your NBA credentials need no introduction. You were in the NBA for 18 years, multiple playoff games, I believe multiple All-Star games as well, which is kind of cool. But including myself, your new role as the Director of Amateur Fishing Development, if pressed to explain exactly, you know, what you do for the league, even I would have a hard time, even though we've talked in the past. So can you, you know, tell the listeners exactly what your new responsibilities are and what you do for the league now that you're retired?
Okay, so I had an injury, so I had to retire from refereeing. And a little bit of my background before being the NBA, I was just a rec ball referee. I never did high school. I never did college. All I did was rec ball. So when I had to retire from my injury, I proposed to the NBA someone that could help a rec ball referee try to make it into the NBA, try to make it to the highest level they want to go to. Because I came from there. You know, I understand how hard it is just to be a rec ball referee and try to pursue a goal like in the NBA. So instead of telling you all my job descriptions is, I'm going to tell you what I mainly want to do for rec ball referees. Okay, so let's say you work for Chris in Ref Union. Let's just say you work for Chris in Ref Union. Okay, and you recreation basketball. So what I wanted to do, and I am doing, is let's say I go to Chris and I say, listen, Chris, we're going to have a big tournament at Mamba. I want you to get the referees that want to proceed and move up the ladder in refereeing. I will come to the tournament prior to the day before the tournament and run a clinic. And then those referees will referee in the tournament, and I will have NBA referee scouts going to that tournament. So the way I always looked at it for rec ball referees is I don't want nothing coming out of your pocket. I don't want you to pay $500 to go to a camp to hopefully be seen or thinking you're going to be taught something. I'd rather we're the NBA. We have resources. So if I can do a clinic, a free clinic to you guys, you can referee and make money, and then you get observed by the NBA referee scouts, and it came nothing out of your pocket. That's my goal.
Nice.
And
let me ask. So I don't want to make. Let's see. I want to phrase this correctly. So what is really in it for the NBA? Why did they say sure? Why did they suddenly decide that they want to take an interest in officials at the grassroots level? And when I say grassroots, I mean the club ball, the travel ball, and the whatnot. Because in the last for as long as I've been in this business, they've really never reached down this far.
There's one answer. Myself. I was the one that sent in the proposal. I'm the one that said this is what I want to be done. Do you all agree on it? All they had to do was agree. But it was my proposal. It's what I wrote up. And what you're seeing that's happening is because that's what I wrote up. All I needed them to say, yes, we're behind you. So it took someone that really wanted to do it. And it really took someone like myself that I came from rec ball. I know how hard it is. I know what you all do. I understand the whole situation and everything like that. But I know there's some people on this call that want to progress up, maybe to the highest level, NBA, WNBA, G League, whatever, high school, college, whatever it is, the NBA can help you. And I knew they could help you because they have the resources.
Nice. So let's talk about that progression, because since the time when I had my cup of coffee in the D League, like the process to get in has like completely changed, that even I can't really follow it along. So let's say you see someone at one of our tournaments and you just like them. They got that it factor. What's the next step to see if they can get identified by other members of the league, other decision makers, and where do they go from there once you see someone you like?
Well, I'll go right down the way it goes. Okay. So let's start out with, I get with Chris. I says, look, I'm going to be at Mamba. They're going to have a big tournament. You can put the referees that really want to move up the ladder. You can put them in that tournament. I come and do a clinic. The NBA scouts, referee scouts come to the tournament. The people they select as having potential, they put them on they call them the next 100. So they've been identified, and now they're the next 100. So from the next 100, then you get invited to Grassroots 1. Once you're in Grassroots 1, you are in the NBA system. Okay, the next 100, you've been identified. You're a good referee. You get invited to Grassroots 1, you're in the NBA system. Now you have Grassroots 2. And Grassroots 1, this year it would have been in Virginia. So they referee, it's a clinic, and it's a camp, and it's all paid by the NBA because you're in the system now. Then you move up to Grassroots 2, okay? Same thing, you go to referee another tournament and so forth, and get training and all that. Then you move up to mid-level. Same thing as that, referee and all that. Then elite, okay? And the numbers fluctuate. We have a meeting with elite coming up when there's 19 elites, okay? We had the Grassroots 1 and 2, and we had 40-something. So at the higher you go, the smaller the crowd is with the referees. From elite, you go in the G League. Okay, so there's a set thing. What I wanted for myself, I wanted to be the first step in that ladder going upward. So if I can get you all in front of an NBA referee scout and you have potential and you show what you can do, we get you into Grassroots, you're on your way.
Nice. So, well, first of all, are you the only one of your kind? Because I mean, you're on the West Coast. Is there an equivalent to you on the East Coast as well?
No.
Or
not right now.
Right. I mean, I understand that, the COVID shutdown,
yeah,
everything's kind of on hold. But ideally, do you see this kind of program expanding where there's now East Coast, West Coast?
Yes, we talk about it all the time. Just because, as you all know, rec ball, basketball, there's a lot out there, and it's hard for one person.
Yes.
But that's why, we haven't talked about, I'll wait for more questions, but that's why we have, different relationships with people like yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I got my questions here, but feel free to just chime in. There's no structure to this. But since we're on the topic,
go ahead.
Since we're on the topic of you identifying people, you bringing them towards another NBA scouts, what is it? And this is the question you get asked ad nauseum by everybody. It's like, what do you look for? If it's at all even be able to put into words, what's the one thing that you see is like, that guy's got promise? Can you put that into words?
Yeah, let me see. You're going a little bit out of order, so I wrote it all down.
My bad.
Okay. The first thing I always notice, and we all know this because we all referee, you notice hustle. Mm-hmm. I swear you cannot teach hustle. I've never seen a referee that can turn it on and off. Oh, I'll hustle one game and I won't hustle the other. Yeah, you might not hustle, and the next game you might give it a little bit. You're still not hustling. You're just giving a little bit more than not hustling. So I always say the number one thing any scout looks for is hustle, because you can't teach it. Plain and simple. The next thing you look for is, do they have a foundation? Do they know where to stand, where to look? Do they know what primary is? Do they know what secondary is? Do they know what referee the defense is? Do they have a foundation? So if they hustle and they have a foundation, I don't have to work on those two things, because first of all, I can't work on hustle. You either show it or you don't. So second one, a foundation you show if you have a foundation. But if you don't have one, then I know that'll be something I have to work on. One is communication. non-communication and communication. How you deal with players, coaches, fans, everything. Communication. In rec ball, you deal with all of it. You deal with fans, coaches, and players, and so forth. Scores table, clock. You deal with everyone. Communication. And one of the biggest ones is game awareness. Game awareness in the sense of, do you know what everything? You usually know what's going on most of the time. We always say it's 94 by 50 for us, but it's really 100 by 60. You got to know what's happening on the benches, what's happening all around you. You really have to know everything. Do you give the ball to the player while your partners aren't ready? You never even notice your partners. Do you have subs and you don't even look at the table? Is the clock running when it's supposed to be stopped? I mean, game awareness, it's tough to teach. But if I have 5 game awarenesses and you do 3 of them, oh, I know you have it in you. You have it in you. The other 2 is going to be a little easier. But if you have none of them, it's going to be some work. But those are the main things. When I get to a gym and you're showing your stuff, do you hustle? Do you have a foundation? Communication and game awareness.
Now, a lot of referees, when they go to a camp or something and they tell their dream of being in the NBA one day, blah, 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 they always get told multiple reasons of why they'll never make it. And what I'm talking about is, for example, I'm sorry, you're too short. I'm sorry, you're too old. Or, you're too skinny, too fat, whatnot. I've never believed that true. And based on recent hires, especially, I don't think there really is a prototypical shape or height or even age anymore, because, Nate Green just got picked up and I believe he's in his 40s. But can you speak to something like that? Can you kind of shake that misconception that, as long as you hustle, as long as you show A, B, and C, there's no prejudices in determining who can make, a high-level official?
No, you look at the NBA staff right now. If you're good, you're good. Plain and simple. They don't look and go, boy, they get every play right. They hustle. They know where to look. They know where to stand. They do everything, but he doesn't have any hair. Not going to make it. No. They can live with a lot of things, okay? Height. They don't like out of shape. So right. You don't want to be short and fat. That's on you. You're short. That's what it is. But you should be in great shape. So no, and I lived in that world where people said, you're not going to make it in the NBA. I was just doing rec ball. That's all I did. And they're going, you're never going to make it in the NBA. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I had to go. And I just said, okay, well, I never went back, and because it's funny now that when I talk to my friends that said I'll never make it, and now they're like, boy, I wish I would stay stuck with it because I would have made it in the NBA too. No, you wouldn't have. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot.
We had a cool question just come in from Deshaun. Tattoos, visible tattoos. What would you say is acceptable versus, get the surgery?
It's a good one because, I run a tournament here in Salt Lake, and a lot of guys come up from LA and Vegas and so forth, and they have the sleeves, the sleeve tattoos. So they wear long arm clothes, We have a couple referees that do have tattoos, roughly right here. Some have to get their shirts brought down a little bit more to cover them and so forth. But the visible tattoos, here's what I've always told everyone that has the tattoos. If you can show me, other than high school, because it's hard to show me, if you can show me a college referee or an NBA referee, a WNBA referee, a G League referee that has visible tattoos, then I'd say you have a chance in that world with the tattoos. But I truthfully, and I have no bias whatsoever, it is what it is. But I always tell them that gives you shows you right there where your limits are in the sense. Because it'll have to take some person to say, look, you're so good that I don't care about the tattoos. But as you know, with refereeing, it's better to be what? Heard than seen. When you have tattoos, they all look at you.
I thought you were going to say lucky than good.
Yeah, that's everyone that referee knows that.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned the high school and there's college. Okay, and we asked about what you're looking for, but in a sense, how raw would you say you want the referees to come to be? Because there's also a misconception that if you've done high school or college for let's say 10 years, then you're kind of set in your ways. And the NBA culture is different than high school and college. There's no doubt about that. So, is there a certain Hmm. What's like ideally is like, all right, he's someone I can work with. He's got the hustle, he's got the play calling, but maybe he doesn't know exactly where to stand. That's okay. We can train him that. Versus, would you really be looking at a guy that's been in the NCAA for 15 years? What's like a sweet spot, would you say?
I mean, even there, I mean, we've had guys come to summer camp and ready to be hired. You know, uh, Tommy Green, or Tony Green, I believe. So we had a bunch of college guys. The main thing we looked at, because I worked with a lot of them in preseason, is how fast they adapt, rule wise and all that, and just dealing with coaches, dealing with players. Completely different in the pro game than it is in the college game. Okay, even in the high school game. How quick can you adapt? And if you've been refereeing college for 15 years, and I can tell you, hey, when you're in the league, jump on your right foot the whole time and referee, and you can do it, you can do more or less anything. Our old boss, Daryl Garrison, used to do stuff like that. I want you to do this while you're there, just to see if you can do it. And he realized when some people can't do it, it's tougher for them to adapt. But I would never say if you work 15 years in college and you want to pursue pro ball, no, you feel you can do it, go for it. They never look, trust me, I know our boss, Monty McCutcheon. Monty never looks at someone and says, oh, you're out of it. You've been refereeing college for 15 years. No, you might be refereeing college for 15 years because that's good money and so forth, but deep down, you really wanted to work pro ball. So if I'm pushing away a referee that's worked in college ball for 15 years just because he worked in college ball, but deep down he wants to be an NBA referee, I'm losing out.
Yeah. Can you speak more to that, like the relationship that the NBA referees have with like the college, maybe coordinators? Again, it's a different game, and like, why do you think there's this kind of disconnect between the way the college officials run their game and the NBA officials run the game? And do you see a bridge kind of, forming there?
So do you want to talk about first about how they referee actually the game or the actual mechanics of everything, the differences of it?
Because I mean, we know there's different mechanics to it. There is kind of like I don't know how exactly to say it, but there's a different culture in how you manage an NBA game. It's like with the NBA, that's the key word we listen to. You're managing the game. While
Okay, I'll make it real simple. This is it right here. The college game is a coach's game. The NBA game is a player's game. When they're hyping a college game, they'll show the two head coaches on TV to hype that game. When they're hyping a pro game, they show the players to hype that game. In the NBA, they'll fire a coach of the year the very next year. They don't care. It's a player's game. That's the biggest difference. So when you're refereeing, and I understand it too, if I'm watching TV and they're showing on college all the coaches, and over here they're showing the players, to me, as a referee, I'm saying if they're showing the players, it's about the game. If they're showing the coaches, to me, it's about the hype, what the coach brings to it.
Yes.
Now, the mechanics of it, we'll take NBA, women's college, men's college. In the NBA, since I've been involved, it's always been about a common sense. You guys don't understand. Sometimes at training camp, we'll change something like that because someone will go, hold it. This sounds so much better. And everyone will go, that does sound better. Why don't we do it that way? It's common sense. The women's college is kind of the same thing. They go on more common sense. They go, that makes sense. Let's change it right now. Let's do it. The men's, because I deal with a lot of different Curtis Shaw and all those, talking to all them. A lot of them, it's well, this isn't the NBA. No, we don't do it because this isn't the NBA. And I hear that all the time. I mean, you can see my biggest thing about common sense. You all are referees. You all been in this situation. Some of you work college ball. Ball gets dumped down to the corner, right in front of the lead, outside the 3-point line. Men's college, the trail referees that play. I know they kind of adapted, saying you have an option as a lead to referee that play. They're getting there. They're getting there. They have an option. But you've all been there where the lead is standing right there, but the trail is supposed to be refereeing that play right there, and all of a sudden you hear a player go, and he goes, hey, and you're standing there going, I don't supposed to be looking there. I don't supposed to be looking there. That's not common sense. Women's goes, why are we having the trail referee that? We have a lead standing right there that can 2 feet away. They can see if there's contact or there's no contact. They can see that. That's common sense. So I find the biggest thing is they push back because it's not the NBA.
Yep. Sorry, just accepting a few more people late into the meeting. So guy gets picked up to the G League or even the pros. Are there certain things that they look for in the first couple of years? Because they say it's hard to get hired. It's even harder to stay on, and I'm a testament to that. First year I got dumped in, wide-eyed, deer in the headlights. Obviously, I didn't last very long. Nowadays, from what we spoke on at our, at lunch one day, you told me that they kind of changed it. Now they kind of give guidelines and they give warnings and stuff like that. Can you speak more to that? What are they looking for from that rookie once they let him on, once they get him on board, once they identified him? What's the secret to now staying on board?
The number one is being professional, on and off the court. You'd be shocked. You go to the hotel, your name's down there as an NBA referee because that's the card we use, NBA referee. You rent a car, says it, NBA referee. They know exactly who you are. I've been noticed a lot in airports, so trying to be a professional on the plane, people sitting next to you. So you always try to be professional because you always got to remember, I've always remembered this as an NBA referee. Anything I did will look either good for the NBA or bad for the NBA. You get in a situation where you say, ooh, I might do this, back of your head goes, you got to be professional. You're an NBA referee. It shows when an NBA referee gets in trouble, what do they say? Oh, those referees. Doesn't matter if it's NBA, if it's rec or anything, it's all those referees. So the number one is being professional and in all walks of life, everything you do. Number two, when you come in, you better know your rules. You better know your rules because you're going into your first year, you should know all the rules because they haven't changed for you ever. You might be working with a 30-year veteran that a rules changed 7 times. If this way to this way, back to this way, then to this way, then back to this way. So they had 7 different time changes from one rule. So when you get there, you better know your rules because trust me, the veterans look at you and go, hey, what's this rule? It's changed 7 times for me. Tell me the rule. Being professional and knowing your rules right there.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Cliff because Cliff,
Okay.
I don't believe you're on my mailing, you're on my iMessenger list. So, okay, Gary did it. Go ahead, Cliff.
Hey, Gary, Cliff Bailey, Chicago.
Hey, Cliff.
How's it been going, man?
Good, you?
Talked to Keith lately? Have you talked to Keith lately?
I have not. No, I called, at the All-Star game, I called his number and a nice lady texted me back and says, I'm sorry, this is no longer his number. So I've been trying to get it.
I have.
Do you?
Yeah.
Good deal.
And I'll give you mine and we can talk later on.
That'd be great. So y'all know Keith was a CBA referee for years. Being a rec ball referee, you guys probably do this anyway now, is when you go do tournaments, you meet other referees from out of state. And then they say, hey, come to our state and referee. So I used to go to Miami, Chicago, New York, and just referee with buddies, very good basketball. Keith was one of my best friends, and I went to Chicago and I refereed on the South Side. I was the only white guy in about a 100-mile radius, and I'd referee at 1 o'clock in the morning some of those games, and I'm just a stupid Utahn out there refereeing, not knowing that I might not make it home. But it was funner. It was the most referee experience I've ever gotten in my life. Because trust me, rec ball in Chicago, a lot of times is a lot better than NBA basketball.
And the Pro-Am, too.
Pro-Am is just,
we went to a couple of Pro-Am camps together, too.
yeah,
That's what I meant.
yeah.
And the last one, I think, was in Denver. Whatever. But my question is this. Does the NBA still use a Pro-Am camp in Vegas to recruit referees?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I just went on. If you go on to NBAofficials.com, you can do a profile. Okay. What I'm trying to get the league to do is also in that profile, there's different situations, there's different tournaments and leagues that come up that the scouts are at. I'm trying to make those links. I want rec ball referees that when they sign up, they go, okay, I've signed up. Now what do I do? I want them to ever push a link and it says Pro-Am. And now if I live in Chicago, I know who to get a hold of so I can referee in the Pro-Am. So I can do those kind of things. I never liked that, okay, I want y'all to sign up, and once you do, you don't know where to go from there. I want y'all to have a path, and the path to go referee good basketball. It can be like me. If I would have never made the NBA, I had a great experience in the refereeing world with Keith and with everybody. That's why I wish everyone gets to have.
Thank you, Cliff. So we talked about communication and how important that is, and that's one of the main components you asked for. And that was also one of the topics that the most referees requested that we talk about. We'll start with partners, because this is one that I don't think gets covered a lot in camps or during preseason meetings and whatnot. The NBA community is relatively small, only 60 or 70 of you guys. But that said, you can't be best friends with all other 69 officials. Obviously, without naming names or anybody, there's bound to be a time where you got someone on your schedule and be like, all right, not my favorite person in the world. Any advice that you can give to a rec ball ref who has thousands of different partners over the years, how to communicate, or how to have a good game even though you're working with someone that you may not see eye to eye with? Any tips on communication with them, or just how to bear with it and try to have your best game regardless?
So every game I've ever went into, I was taught this very young, and it's funny, I was taught this very young, and the NBA used it when I was there too. So it was already there. The game comes first, your partner comes second, and yourself comes third. So if you go in that order where you're last, doesn't matter what kind of partner you're working with, even if you don't like his ego, you don't like his attitude, you don't like if he's lazy, whatever, you're going to try to make him as best as you can make him, because the game comes first and your partner comes second. If someone's observing you, you all remember Hugh Hollins. Hugh saw me doing a 3-on-3 tournament. He don't even run. And he came up to me and says, you can referee. They will see good referees. Whoever observes knows what you're trying to do out there. They know that your partner either has an ego, is lackadaisical, doesn't hustle, but they can tell you're going the game first and your partner second. And if you do those two things, people will notice. Now, dealing with the partner. When I did rec ball, I would tell my partner straight up, I'm going to use two hands. I might do loose ball. That's when I was 11, the guy that got me refereeing, he said, I don't care, use two hands, go loose ball. I don't care. I just want you here for 12 games on Saturday. That's all I care about. So I would tell my partners, hey, I'll do this. This is my mechanics and so forth. And hopefully one day I'll be in the NBA. They'd look at me like I'm crazy and you'd go. But at least they give them a little heads up. Okay. Let's say I'm working with y'all. Let's say I'm working with Drew. And I go, Drew, we got 4 games tonight. It's going to be a lot of running. Okay. 2 of the games, let's work on our craft. Let's really work the system. Okay. The other 2 will get by. But 2 of the games, we're going to work on our craft. And if you got a partner who says, that's good with me. Now, if your partner goes, ooh, 2 games, then you go, okay, let's do 1. We'll do 1 by the book. And the rest will get by. And if your partner doesn't want to switch and do all that, you can still work on your game. I didn't mind it in rec ball, because in the NBA, we walk to our spot and we report. So if my partner didn't want to switch, I didn't care. If we're shooting free throws and I'm not switching, I would stop at the free throw line and go 24, hits on the arm, 2 shots, and I'd pick up the ball and do the free throws. I could still work on my game even though my partner doesn't want to join along. Okay? So I never look at it and go, oh, my partner's, he doesn't. I don't care if he doesn't run. If he doesn't want to hustle, I'm still going to. Here's why I look at referees. Is I respect anyone that picks up a whistle. I know how hard it is. I know what we all go through. I respect all that. If you want to be lazy with it, you might have potential. You might be able to make more money. So it's not a bad gig for money and so forth. If you have potential, you're wasting it. So with partners, I would truthfully think of this when you do go do a game. Game comes first, partner comes second, yourself comes last.
Gotcha. Very good advice. Let's go to coaches now.
Okay.
Everybody's now, since the NBA is a players' league and college is a coaches' league, do you find that there's kind of a disconnect in how you can reply to coaches in the pro game versus the college game versus the high school game? Is there any advice you can give that's more universal as to when does their griping, warrant some kind of response versus what's an acceptable level of complaining?
Well, did everyone get an agenda? Did they all get the questions?
You know
Chris?
what? I think I forgot to attach it. I have it on my screen so I can recite it word for word.
No, I got it right in prayer. I just want to know if everyone saw it, because when I read some of them, I'll give you an example. Here's one of the questions that came from me. What type of criticism from a coach is considered legitimate or acceptable? And what type of language tone crosses a line of being appropriate and should be addressed with a warning or technical foul?
There we go. That's how I originally phrased it. Yes.
Okay. So I had a problem with the question in the sense of criticism. Yeah. I've never seen a coach that's qualified to critique a referee. Never. I've even had buddies that are NBA referees that are coaching a game. They're not qualified because they have a horse in the race. They care if their team wins. They're not qualified for that game to critique those referees. And I try to tell them that. To me, what type of questions from a coach is considered legitimate and acceptable? Okay. I always have a thing with questions. You try to answer questions if they're legitimate and they're acceptable. You don't answer statements. Okay. Make a statement. I don't answer statements. The one thing I would say with coaches, never allow a coach to say something to you that you wouldn't say to them. So if a coach said to you, you're a terrible referee, would you ever tell a coach you're a terrible coach? So if a coach says you're a terrible referee and you penalize them, and the coach says, what do I get a technical for? Because you said something to me that I would never say to you. Nice. And you were penalized.
If you're wrong, what if you blew a call and then a statement like that's this, like, you're a terrible referee, but you missed it. So is it at that point, do you give them a little bit of a leeway?
No, I was marked in 1 year in the NBA. When I blew my whistle, I was 97.6% correct. That's pretty good for the whole season. Oh, yeah. But that 1 or 2 I missed, do I deserve criticism? No. So I got one wrong. So I always look at that as in the rule book, in the NBA rule book, in the high school rule book, they have whole sections that says what a coach's behavior can do. How they address a referee, how they talk to a referee, and so forth. So I always say, you need to find the line in the sand that you have. Because there's some of us, we know in the NBA staff, there's some that are like, oh no, you're getting a technical. And there's some that just, they berate them. And you go, you got to give it technical. Come on. So there is different personalities. Human factor comes into a lot. Okay. But you have to say to yourself, no. They're not going to say that to me. That's my line right there. Okay. That's up to you. Some have a shorter line. Some kind of let it go for quite a bit. That's up to you. But with okay, we'll stay with the coaches.
Yeah.
We'll go coaches and players. Here's why I look at unsportsmanlike activity. Okay? If you permit it, you promote it. If you permit a coach to sit there and scream at you, you're promoting it. But if a coach screams at you and give him a technical, you're not permitting it. You're not promoting it. But when you allow it, you're promoting it to do it. And what happens? One coach sees it, so the other coach starts. One coach sees it, so their players start. Because you're permitting it and you're promoting it to everyone else. So if you just say to yourself, I'm not permitting it, that's unsportsmanlike act, technical foul. So be it. I've one quick thing. I've never given a technical foul or went back to the hotel saying I should have given a technical foul or should have not. I let it all lay out there. If I gave a wrong technical, so be it. I was wrong. So be it.
No, that's right. Because a lot, especially in rec ball, the technical foul, and you and I have talked about this. Coach gets a technical foul that he thinks is unjustified, he goes crazy. Much more so than if you just make a wrong traveling call or you make a wrong foul call. The technical foul, if they don't think it's deserved, that just creates like this avalanche of emotion where I'm like, what? As an assigner, at least, I would go over and be like, what's the big deal? All right, you don't believe you deserve the tech. That's fine. Let's consider it a missed call and move on. You would not get on my case so much if he missed a regular foul. But because you think he missed a technical foul, suddenly you go crazy.
Think of this. When we referee and we give a technical foul, we go from here to here. We do. Our emotions go up once you give a technical foul. That's a referee that's been trained giving technical fouls. We know we've given technical fouls to coaches that they start screaming, I never said that, I never did that, and they completely did all of the above.
Yeah.
Because they go from here to here and they have no concept of what just went on. So a lot of times you see them going crazy and they go, I never said that. And you're going, you said every word of that. But to them, in their mind, is they didn't say it. They didn't do what they did. And I always say, the way I look at refereeing is you do the best you can. Let's say you're doing a rec game for an hour. You do the best you can for an hour. It is what it is. If a coach deserves a technical, you got a technical. I'm trying to get with all the junior NBA network partners to have administration have a little backbone to tell them, hey, no, you deserved it. You know, I always tell the referees that come and work my tournaments is I'll get out of any situation, but I will always have a referee's back because I can handle you being correct 98% of the time. That 2% that you're wrong, I can live with it.
I wish we're wrong only 2% of the time. But
you're right a lot more than you're wrong, trust me.
That's true. In terms of the junior NBA, if we were to just compare it to all the other grassroots and rec ball in the country, are there any problems you see at our level or most of our levels that you would like to correct or that you're trying to get the junior NBA to correct, you know, through your interactions with them? Like you said, have a little bit more backbone against the coaches. That's for one. Any other issues that you see that are plaguing our level of game? Well,
when I deal with the junior NBA network partners, there are 15 of them. You all have 3 of them out there in the LA area. The coach is supposed to wear a collared shirt. They're supposed to act civil. Fans supposed to act civil. I'm working on a card that I can hand a fan saying, just like we do in the NBA, hand a fan says, if you act a fool, we'll have to send you out.
So there's an actual card?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, so that's why I like the junior NBA. They do 14-year-old kids. So they're not good enough that they're the family's ticket in that sense. They're just there to play. And then with the parents and so forth, they know. I do like the junior NBA thing where it has the NBA name behind it, meaning we do things a little bit different. Going beyond that, rec ball leagues and so forth, YMCA and all that, it really comes down to people like you, Chris, that run Ref Union, that has to go to these people and say, look, and I did this. I did this in Boston before the shutdown. I went to Boston and I told them, you need a room for the referees. Well, we don't have a room. Well, you need a section. You need an area away from everybody, because when the referees start walking towards that area, it's telling everyone, do not follow them. Do not bug them. That is their area.
Right.
And I told them, I says, there's no reason referees that do rec ball should have to sit next to their gym bag and be berated.
Right.
So what we're trying to do, Chris, in my part, is to have it trickle down to the YMCA and to so forth. You know, like people that come on these calls that are involved in the East Coast and whatever, to try to let them understand what refereeing is all about. Because in the kids, you say for the grassroots, I'll talk about the refereeing side of it. The biggest thing about grassroots refereeing is training, because there's a shortage of referees. If you decide to referee and you have a whistle, you might have 8 games next week and you haven't blown 1 whistle. So you hardly get any training. And with the training comes foundation. So now you have no foundation. You have no training, you have no foundation. You don't even have the basics. You're learning on the fly. So now, as we know as referees, you don't catch as much flack when you get your plays right.
Right.
Plain and simple. That's why a lot of you guys stuck around, because you become better and you say, no, I mean, I can go do a game. I can get in and out, get my money. I'm good, because you become better and you make you get your correct calls. But now people that come into refereeing, they don't have foundation, training, just the basics. Now they realize this is difficult. I don't want to do this. So in the grassroots, I'm trying to get them to have a foundation.
Right.
Get someone to train them. Get someone to give them the basics. Because as we know, when stuff starts hitting the fan, when you're refereeing, what do you say to yourself? Get back to the basics. Get back to my foundation, get back to my basics, and I'll be okay. Then I'll start over. I can reboot. I can go. When you got a young referee that doesn't have any of those, they have nothing to fall back on. What do? They quit within the first 2 years, because you try to get through your first year and you don't enjoy it. Your second year is even worse, because now they have you refereeing bigger kids because you already refereed 1 year and you don't like it anymore because no one's teaching you anything.
And that's why we appreciate you doing this and the junior NBA doing this, because the training is almost like a barrier of entry. I mean, that training costs like $500 a weekend for some of these camps. Even some of these subscription services that have all these videos, they cost, $30, $50 a month just to, get some clips and get some professional advice on the clips. So one of my things is like, no, we've got to make a certain part of this free, at least for the starting guys, so they can have they can get that foundation without having it cost them the first 2 years of their referee pay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And see, in my job is you only can teach to the level of your experience. So if you've only refereed 6th grade boys, you can't tell me how to look for a goaltend, because your level of experience is 6th grade boys. So it's nice when an NBA referee that's had a lot of different experiences can say, hey, this could help you with this situation. This could help you with this situation, because you only can teach to the level of your experience. And I appreciate everyone on this call that does try to teach, that says, hey, this was taught to me and so forth. And I bet there's some people on this call go, I wish I'd be taught more. Because as you know, with the shortage of referees, supply and demand, there's a lot more demand than there's supply. If you really work on your craft, you really could take off in this. Y'all don't think so, but once you jump in and you decide to get in shape, learn the rules, and really take off, you can.
And that's a great point. We've got to, like everybody on this call and everybody that's going to view this later, we've got to really take it upon ourselves to mentor the next generation, to use the rec ball games as teaching opportunities to get better. Some of us don't do it because we're just too lazy. We just want to get in, get our money and get out, handle the game, but not really use it, even for that 1 out of 4 games in the set. Use it to better our craft. We don't do it that way. And in some cases, we're kind of nervous, or we're afraid. We're with a partner that we don't know, so we don't want to step on their toes. We don't want to ask, hey, what'd you see on that play? Because we think the other person's going to get insulted or something. Or, they look gruff and they don't have that body language like, I welcome feedback. And it's like, yes, that might happen from time to time, but it shouldn't discourage you from talking with your partner, from actually talking about the game in the interest of getting better, if not for them, then for ourselves. But if we're working with a younger partner especially, do it so that they know it's okay and so they can pick up a tip or two along the way.
Yeah, one thing we don't think about, and we've all been through it. We've all been through it. When you first pick up a whistle and you decide to referee, and they go, okay, I got you a fifth grade girls team, and you start refereeing it, and you're a new official, and it looks like this. They're just running everywhere. They're taking 4 steps over here. They're triple dribbling over here. They're doing everything. So you see all this, and now eventually goes away, and you become a pretty good referee. The people that are coming in have this right now. You got to remember, you had this at one time. Some people goes away quicker than others, but you got to understand, you got a new referee out there that's doing a fifth grade girls game, and they're not calling anything because to them it is just crazy. Now, if I'm refereeing, because I do every year, I do a 5th grade in my tournaments. I do a couple 5th grade girls and 5th grade boys, just to have fun. So I work with new officials, and I go up and I says, look it. I want you to stay in your primary. I want you to call the obvious, and I want you to make sure you know what's going on with, the clocks. I'll give them something like that. I said, everything else I'll take care of, everything. I'll whack a coach if he's yelling at my partner, I'll do whatever. But I want you to do those 3 things. And once you learn those 3 things, primary, clocks, so then you go call the obvious, then I'll move on to something else. So I'll work with the new officials every year just because I know what it looks like. And I'll tell them, I know it looks like this to you. That'll go away. I usually tell them it goes away after about 28 years, but it eventually goes away.
And you can see that in a referee. Like when you're scouting, you can see examples of leadership, can't you? And that'll definitely, even if, just for show, like if you see a referee lead a younger official, their stock has got to go up because it exemplifies that they're doing what's best for, again, for the game, for the partner, and in tertiary is for themselves. So that's why I try to get people into the spirit of doing it at rec league games, because if you show up at a game where you're being watched and you're being scouted and you exhibit that same leadership that you've been practicing at the YMCA, they are going to notice. And that is going to boost your stock up more so than a guy that just, he minds his primary, but really does nothing else.
And it makes you better. When you try to teach, because again, your level of experience. So if you only ref 6th grade boys and that's all you've been up to, and you can tell a new referee, look, I've only refereed this much, but this is what I do know, and I found this to help me. Now, if I come in and I say, okay, what you're doing, I want to tweak that, and you go, good, I never knew that. I'm learning from you. But at least you're trying. At least you're saying, hey, I don't know everything, but this has helped me. And this might help you. Because any of y'all that stuck around, something has helped you, and that's made you stay refereeing. So whatever you know, every knowledge you have that will help a referee stick around, tell them. Like people ask me, with the NBA, what about all the fans screaming? After the 2nd row, they're all just idiots. That's the way I look at it, is you go, you can hear the first 2 rows, and okay, after that, it's just noise. So it has nothing to do with 19,000 people or 2 rows of people. So I always say, you guys have the experience, let it be known.
Move on kind of the current events, and a lot of people, right now everything's shut down. We're on the precipice of getting back to work in the next 1 or 2 months, and I wanted to get your take on how COVID-19 might affect what we do at our level and even at your level going forward, because you probably got some cool inside stuff that none of us are privy to. And if you are willing, if you could share, what you've heard about how the pandemic's going to affect basketball going forward.
Well, it's going to change stuff for a while, but we'll just take it for a referee standpoint. And I want you all to think about this, because we do it all the time where we have wipes at the table, because every player touches the ball, okay? So we always have wipes at the table to wipe your hands, because you never know who's sick. Now, with this pandemic, when you hear someone's sick or someone sneezes, you're going to pay attention, okay? What I'm hoping with the administration, like with the junior NBA, they treat it just like when I went to the doctor. They do the little forehead temperature and you're okay, come on in. You know, that little time and so forth, because with refereeing, think about it. You touch the ball, you touch a whistle, goes in your mouth. I always think about this too. You know, I was a sweater. I sweat a lot when I was doing, so I'd go like this and try to wipe it off and get everything off my hands. Mm-hmm. That being said, I would use anything to work on your game. And this being said, I wrote this down. During timeouts, I'm not letting anyone come and shoot on my court. I don't want anybody else on my court. I don't want nothing. I just want the players and us, the referees, and that's it. I don't want no one coming shooting on my court. Nothing. I want it clean. I want it nice. Okay. So that being said, it's a perfect time where you actually can run more than you ever could before. Okay. Because if you have someone saying, oh, they're sick over here, and you go, oh, we got to do something about this. We need their temperature check. We need this. We need that. You have to look out for yourself. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. I mean, on our front, as you notice with the NBA, I mean, they got the testing right away and so forth. And they're talking about, you know, now maybe go down to Orlando and what we're going to do about all the families and testing them and so forth. You know, you really got to think about it for yourself. And to me, like I say, the ball, big time. Bring wipes. Make sure administration has wipes at the tables for everybody. You know, score table is usually a parent. Okay, so now you know you never know what they are. If I went and did a rec ball game after this pandemic, I would tell administration, say, look, whoever's going to be at the score tables, I got to talk to them like this. Make sure they're healthy. Either take their temperature and make sure it's in the normal range and so forth, and if they've had any symptoms, and I'm good. No one's going to look at you right now and say, no, you don't deserve that. We ain't going to. No, they know.
Well, there's some. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. That's why it's important, you know, the whole solidarity thing is that, you know, we've got to be a little bit more forthright about demanding such kind of treatment. I mean, junior NBA is one thing, but I know we deal with a lot of leagues that really don't give a damn about us, that we're there as just a necessary evil to help run the games. But in terms of our rights, those are like way in the back of their heads. And now where there's a legitimate health risk to coming back to work, especially this early, I mean, some leagues are starting already in June. We've got to demand it more. We've got to demand it from our assigners, and we got to demand it from the people representing us. And then once we get to the court, we actually got to demand it for ourselves if we don't see it in action.
So correct. I mean, if I ran you guys, if I was ref union boss, I would write up a list of everything I want for you guys during this pandemic to come back. I'm sending it off to you guys. I want your okay on it. And you say, I'm good and I'm behind it. I'm so forth. I'm sending it off to every league that we referee in. Says this is what we want done. And sorry, because of the times, if this isn't provided when we get there, you may not have a referee to referee your games.
I'm on board with that.
And the way I look, I've always said this. I tell my referees, I've been doing this since I was 11, and I've been working with the county for so many years with referees. I always say, if you don't like what's going on, put your shoes on and go home. See how quick they change on you. Oh, what can we do? What can we do? Oh, don't leave. Because you don't have referees, it becomes a scrimmage game. And what happens with the scrimmage game? It doesn't go in the standings. There's no wins or losses. They need a referee. So if you don't like what's going on and you put your shoes on and go home and says, look, you're not following what we're supposed to do. I know y'all ain't going to do it. Not everyone's going to put their shoes on and go home. Okay. But if they know you will, the majority of you will get what you need to get, to be honest. You have to be safe. Because as Chris just said, they think of the referees as 5 minutes before the game, there's no referees. Oh, definitely need referees.
Yeah.
But they never think, hey, make sure they're safe, make sure they have a room, they can shower, anything. We're always last.
Yeah, we're basically an afterthought. I mean, that's what I get when there's a tournament that's been scheduled for like 2 weeks and we get the schedule on Friday because it's like, oops, I almost forgot you guys.
I say it in the NBA too. Here's why I look at the NBA referees. In the NBA, we're all one big family. We're just the black sheep of the family. That's what we are in the referees. So they see me coming on the court, they go, oh, who invited Gary to the wedding? I guess he's family and he had to come. but who invited him? So that's how I look at it. You know, they need us. We're all one family. You know, we're all playing the one sport. But, you know, and the way I did write something down, I wanted to go over it here.
Go for it.
You know, we talk about what's the main thing for a referee. The main thing, okay? To me, it's integrity, okay? So, you know, your moral principles, and you know, definition for moral is, are you you know, honest? Can you see between good behavior and wrong behavior? Okay, so you are the integrity of the game, plain and simple. When you walk into that gym, you're probably the only, if you're doing two-person, you're the only two people really that care who, you don't care who wins or loses. You just go there to do a job, try to be fair, try to be honest, do the best I can. You don't care who wins or loses. Almost everyone else in that gym, they have a horse in the race. They care. So think about that. You are the integrity of the game. You care if the rules are enforced correctly. You know, you don't enforce it according to this coach is nicer to me than this coach and so forth. You're there to be fair. When I retired, it's funny when I talk to players now, and you know they at the All-Star game, I went to the All-Star game this year. A lot of them came up, and that was the main thing they said to me. They says, you know, one thing about you, you were fair. It didn't care if we were on the road. It didn't care if the fans were all over you. You were just fair. And that's why I came into the job. I came into refereeing. I was taught is I'm just there just to be fair. You know, if you double dribble, I'm sorry, you double dribbled. I'm not picking on you. You just can't do that. This is the rules.
All right. Justin from San Diego, you're on with Gary.
All right. Hey, Gary. My question is, since we're not sure exactly when basketball is coming back, without kind of like overdriving ourselves, what are some things we can do to, I'd say, stay ready or work on our game, so we can be prepared for when that email from Chris does come about the Mamba and the camp from you or anything like that? What are like some things we can do to stay ready during this time?
Well, the one thing I was going to ask you guys, if you all have these 3 books, okay? Of course, you have the rule book.
Yep.
Then you have the case book.
Well,
and then you have the official's manual. Okay? Kind of like what we do in the NBA. If you have all those 3, I would study it when you have the time now. This is your best time right now. You know, and if you don't have all 3, get all 3. Because there's going to be things in there that you thought you knew, but you didn't know. And something triggered it. I'll take the case book. The reason we read our case book so much, I can't have every one of these plays. There's 400 and something plays. I can't have any one of these plays. But if they do come up, I need to know what to do with it. So now I got to read about plays that could happen to me, that how to apply the rules to it. So I would say for you guys, I mean, there's a case book for the high school right there. Knowing all the rules is, I learned that from Steve Javy, if you know the name, is you can handle any situation that you call or your partners will call. With that being said, let's say, Justin, I'm working with you and you're kicking a rule. We're in the NBA and you're kicking a rule. I can't let you kick it. I don't want that $500 bill coming to my house. I don't want that $1,000 bill coming to my house. I don't want it to be a very big game and that $5,000 bill coming to my house because we kicked a rule. So I look at referees to know the rules, because you're gonna have to, if you know them now and you really get into it and you want to move up, we won't have to worry as partners going, I don't have to worry about Justin. Justin knows the rules. He's been on it since day one. Anytime he has any dead time, he's in the rule book. It's his. Because trust me, when you get that bill in the mail and after you ref a very good game, a 1-point ball game, came down to the end, you did everything right, you find out in the 3rd quarter, the 3:10 mark, you kicked a rule. You work for free that night. You're getting fined $1,000. And you work for free that night, and you worked a very hard game. It's a feeling where you go, great game, down because of one rule where I should have known it or I should have get more in the book. And one thing about rules, when I take a test, I take it like I have to play. Player A1 drives to the basket, hits in the head, flagrant foul, penalty 1 is 2 shots in the ball. Yes, that's how I take it. If I miss it, I'm in the NBA, I miss 2 of them. Well, I better get better in the rule book on those 2 mainly.
I find out that some people are raising their hands like digitally, so I was going to go to Carlos and Nick, but I mean, if you want to go Anthony first.
Would it be H Anthony or is M?
Well, I got Anthony H, but is Anthony H raising his hand?
No, it's
okay. Well, let's go to Nick Agres. I actually don't know who that is. It must be one of our Facebook followers. But Nick,
we'll get you, Anthony. Anthony, we'll get you. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Nick, you're on with Gary.
Hey Gary, I'm Nick from West Palm Beach. Excuse the quarantine beard. Our shops still aren't open yet. You talk about how the NBA scouts they look for that it factor. They look for certain things, and they take those people and develop them and ask them, and invite them to Grassroots. How do we, if we get that opportunity to go to Grassroots, where you're in a room with a bunch of people that all have the it factors, the things that the scouts are looking for, how do you separate yourself when you're in that room?
I mean, as we know as referees, a lot of people try to step over people to go up the ladder. One thing the NBA has always recognized is, are you the person that when you start moving up, are you pulling people with you? So if you're in that room, let's say me and you are in that room, Nick, and you can referee and you know all the rules and you know all the situations, you know the mechanics, okay? And then you got little Gary over there going, I don't understand the lead position. When do you rotate and all that? And then you come in and you go, Gary, let me show you. Let me show you. Come stand over here. I'm going to show you this. Trust me, NBA people recognize you. You're trying to pull people up. So many people look at, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to shine. I'm going to show them I'm the best out there. No, the NBA, I tell you, the NBA always looks through the BS. We always look at saying, look at Nick. Nick can referee. He has everything, and he's trying to help someone that's actually trying to go past him. They see that kind of stuff. It's tough to tell people on this call that do high school and college that it's really not like that in the pros. In the pros, we notice that Nick's trying to help out. He's not trying to show, he's not asking questions that he knows the answers to just to make himself look good. He's asking questions because he really doesn't know. And when other people see Nick doesn't know and he's asking questions, it lets them say, dang, Nick doesn't know everything. I don't feel as bad. I don't know half of what Nick knows, but he doesn't know everything, so I don't feel so bad. So they see through the BS. That's what I really enjoy about the NBA is when you go there, I see Nick's trying to help someone out. I see he's not trying to step on people going up the ladder. He's getting up that ladder because he's good. Cream always rises to the top. If you're good, so be it. Rises to the top. But now you're on the ladder and you're reaching down saying, hey, come with me. I always learned this from Joey Crawford, Steve Jabbie, and all them. They always looked at this. No one's going to take their job. They're going to get hired. They're going to work. I always looked at that. No one's going to take my job. I worked hard to get there. I'm going to stay there. I never go into refereeing going, oh, I'm nervous. Someone's going to step over me. So I'm good. I got a career. I work hard at my job.
And I can even attest to that when I was in the NBA Summer League and I was working with Mitch Irvin and Diedrich, I forgot his last name. I think it was Carr. I'm sorry?
Taylor?
Diedrich Taylor.
Yeah.
Yes. So they told me in the locker room that their entire goal for that game was to get me hired because they were already in the D-League. So they were fine. Now their job was to make me look good so I get a chance too. And now look at Mitch. He's in the, like, they're both in the NBA now. So the philosophy works. I mean,
yeah.
there's only so far they can drag me up, but that was their goal.
And it's tough to tell people on this call because if you've been in the high school ranks and so forth, you've been stepped on to get stepped over. In the college and so forth, you've been stepped on to get stepped over. I'm telling you, though, the pros, they recognize it. You know, women's colleges are even pretty good, very good at it, where they recognize, no, you're trying to help someone. We rather have you on the staff than people that are trying to step over everyone.
Trey, you're on.
Hey guys, how you guys doing this evening? Yeah, I just want you to talk about dealing with the politics of these associations and how, as no matter how hard you work, you're still caught up in the shit show that is high school basketball associations.
Yeah, because as we know, once you stayed in this for 2 to 3 years, the next reason you quit is because you don't move up the ladder. You don't go to the playoffs. You don't do all that. And, you know, it's funny because you can only control what you can control. You don't get to pick yourself. You know, someone in the refereeing world, someone always picks you and say, you're a good referee, you can go to the playoffs. You can work as hard as you can. I always say this, what's your end game? If your end game is, I enjoy refereeing, I would love to go to the playoffs, I would love to go to the finals. I mean, that's my career too. I'd love to go farther in the playoffs. I'd love to go in the finals. But what's my end game? My end game was to become an NBA referee and enjoy my career. So if you always look at your end game and you say, look, I wanted to be a high school referee. Not too many people, when we first start out refereeing, they go, I want to go be a high school referee and I want to work a championship game right off the bat. You want to be a high school referee. That's really your end game, or a college referee or a pro referee. So if you're happy where you're at, because I always say this, once you get to the NBA, there's really no big games. You know, you asked one, if I can look it up, what was one of my big games and so forth? I'll tell you, I did the Golden State 70, I think it's on tonight, Golden State 73rd win, okay? It's in the record books and all that. The way Drew's dad worked it too. The way I look at it too, we're putting out fires all night. Memphis didn't want to be in the record books on that part. They want to be in the record books as being the 73rd win. We're putting out, you know, flames all night because they wanted to fight. I'm talking all night. Knock it off. Let's just get this game over with. Knock it off. Just play basketball. Knock it off. So there's no really big game. It's whatever you have in front of you. So if you enjoy refereeing and you're right there to make the playoffs and you don't make the playoffs, you got to say to yourself, do I enjoy refereeing? Plain and simple. Yeah, I'd like to move on. I like to go farther. I like to go up in the playoffs. But do I enjoy refereeing? And if I write down my pros and cons and I can live with my pros, I'm sticking with it.
Right.
You know, I find anybody that stays within refereeing, they do get to that fork in the road where they go, I'm not going farther in the playoffs and I'm going to go quit. Okay. But they stay there a little bit longer, to hopefully something happens. To me, I don't look at it that way. Do you enjoy what you do? Do you like running up and down the court? Do you like refereeing 10 different personalities and 2 different personality coaches? Do you enjoy that connection? That's what I loved about the refereeing. I love dealing with 10 different personalities and 2 different personalities as coaches, where you can treat Ron Artest different than you can treat Kobe Bryant. But they're the same people right there wanting to fight, but you treat them different right there. I love that part of the game. I love doing a 5th grade boys game because you just have younger knuckleheads. You know, you got some kids that are just sweeter than sweet, and you just think this is the greatest thing ever. And you got a kid that you just don't understand how he can be so mean at 5th grade. But you walk away going, this is great. This is great. And trust me, if you don't make the playoffs, if you don't go far in the playoffs and so forth, that year comes around the next year and you'll get your schedule.
Yep.
You know, and you just keep on reffing. Because I'm going to tell you one story. NBA referees ain't much on war stories. We went to an alumni thing with the NBA referees. One of the best ever referees. He retired right when I got in. Worked 39 finals games. Okay? 39. That's a lot of finals games. He was not a happy man. 39 finals games, and all he did is complain about the NBA refereeing, being in the NBA, being all that. And I'm thinking, I would never want to be like that. I'd rather have an 18-year career as I did and be happy and say, hey, y'all can do it. Go do it. It's fun. That told me right there, don't look for that big 39 final games. Because when you come back with that attitude, I wouldn't take it. We all work with people that go high in the playoffs, and they have the worst attitude towards refereeing.
Yep. Oh, I want to make a quick thing. It was not Dietrich. It was Deldre Carr. I worked with Mitchell and Deldre. They were the ones that said, our job is to help you rise up and get hired. So I want to just make that clerical correction there. Carlos had his hand up for a long time. Carlos, if you are still there.
There he is.
Let's see. No.
I see him up there.
I see him. I just can't seem to unmute him.
Let me try.
Carlos, I think you have to press the button too.
There he goes.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. Question, if we're right now in the high school ranks and an end goal, or at least the next step goal would be moving into college, whether it be JC, D3, D2, obviously moving into the college ball, but we happen to be working in a smaller state, smaller, market. College ball, maybe not a whole lot around, or there are, 50 guys hustling for 2 positions, just because there's not a lot of college at all levels here in the area where we live. Do we need to be looking to travel? Do we need to be open to relocating to get to that next level, because it might not happen here? What might be your thought there? And
Yeah, because I live here in Utah, and there really isn't much JC, and there's U of U and BYU and so forth. So I do see some of our referees move to Texas.
And I'm your neighbor.
Huh?
And I'm your neighbor in Lehigh.
There you go. So that being said, as you know how it is, but I'm going to tell you about college basketball, okay? College looks a lot for camps. They look at camps for the referees, and I want to teach you about camps, okay? There's learning camps, teaching camps, okay? And there's hiring camps. They're 2 different ones. If I'm a referee and I think I know refereeing, but I want to know more about college basketball refereeing, I'm going to a teaching camp, a learning camp. I'm not going to try to go get hired. I just want to go learn as much as I can. Now, if I think I'm good enough and I want to go not to a Dave Halls or something like that, I want to go to one that really I can get hired. Dave's big in our area, as you know.
Yeah.
So now you go to a hiring camp. Okay, so you're trying to get hired. You know this too. If you look at a camp and you see invited guest Gary Zielinski, that doesn't mean I'm going to be there. That just means I've been invited. So if you get to that camp thinking Gary's going to be here and he's not there, they will say, well, yeah, he was just invited. He couldn't make it. If you go to a camp and it says attending Gary Zielinski, I said, yes, I'll attend that camp. That's big. So if you go to a hiring camp and you want to impress yourself with the Pac-12, with someone like that, and it says attending, whoever's their hiring person, attending, then you know. So those are the little ins and outs of that. Now, to what you said, it is tough in Utah for college referees, as you know. Pac-12 is our biggest one and so forth. Now, if you're a good referee and you go to a camp, hiring or learning, and you tell the person, hey, do I have a shot? And if they're honest with you, go, yeah, you're a very good referee. I live in Lehigh. What should I do? You tell me. Because if they go, yeah, in all reality, I can't hire you because where you're at. All you have is BYU and Utah, Weber a little bit and all that. You might have to move. Now that's up to you. But that does come up, trust me, especially in the women's college. Women's college, a lot of referees leave, Utah and move somewhere else. California, Chris, is a little bit different because you have so many JCs and so forth. California, if you really want to move up from high school to college, camps come into play. Learning camp, hiring camp.
And we got like a dozen of them in the summer. You can go to all 12 if you want, spend a fortune.
And that goes back to my job where I didn't want you all to spend a fortune. I don't think that's right. The NBA can pay me my salary, and then that salary comes back to you guys where you get the free observing, the free clinics. You get all that free for y'all because you're the one that's really, we talked about our farm system you asked about the Grassroots as a farm system. It's always has been. When you become a referee and you're very new, you start with young kids. You do young kids. You are the start of the farm system. I'm just here to try to hopefully say, okay, you're part of the system because you are refereeing. Here's how you can move on.
So we've held Gary now for about an hour and a half on his fourth call of the day. So if there's nothing if there's nothing left any pressing issue.
Hey, I'm in no, if they got questions, Chris, I'm in no hurry. Trust me, I'm good.
But what I also figure, like if later tonight they think of something like, oh, I wish I would have asked that, I can always forward it to you and then we can communicate, or you can, if you're so willing, I can share their email with you directly. So this won't be the last time, guys. Gary has graciously, become a friend of Ref Union, and hopefully we can invite him back for future calls, or once basketball finally gets kicked off. We were going to be the agency to assign the Junior NBA Global Western Regional Championship, and then that got canceled because of COVID-19. Although, if you have any update on that, Gary, are they planning to run anything in the course of the summer, or is it just a lost year?
Right now, it's like month by month. So, the regionals were a June thing. So, you lose June, then you get into July, we're kind of off a little bit. Then August was the global championship. So it's kind of a month by month thing. And once days go up, eating up, it kind of eats everything with it.
Yeah. So I'll keep you guys updated on that through email and through social media if I hear anything. So if there's nothing else, I do have one favor from everybody on this call. I want you guys to get on your phones, go to Venmo. Everybody here, send me 50 cents so I can send Gary a nice gift card so you can, go out and get something to eat. The restaurants are starting to open up, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. Don't be cheap, guys.
Hold it, stop. Why would I tell you I'm going to do everything I can for you guys don't have to spend no money, and then you're going to take money out of your pocket?
50 cents, Gary. They can afford 50 cents. We're still getting unemployment until July 31st. They can afford it.
Hold it. The NBA pays me well. Trust me.
All right.
The NBA pays me well. I don't need anything. As
you wish. So thank you, Gary, so much. Thank you guys for contributing. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. This call has been brought to you by Ref Union. If you want to check us out, refunion.net. And yeah, thanks again, Gary.
Whenever you guys want to do it again, I'm up for it. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a good night.